Oh, whoops. Whoops. I was supposed to grab my blue thing and I grabbed that clown instead. Um, let's see. What do we want to look at here? We want to look at this blue thing. Now we want to try to make this card called the Woketariat. I was calling. Oh crap. Let's see. Okay. I'm going to try to make this card the Woketariat. I originally called them Woktivists, but people are already calling them the Woktivists. And I really want to focus on this little wobbly salute that people give here. So basically, the idea is to have two woke kids, two white people pretending to be not so white, and not necessarily transracial, right? So not necessarily transracial. I'd rather have a transracialism card. That would be fun. I just don't know where to put it. Actually, I'm not sure where to put this. Should the woke be red or should the woke be green? Because of the way people code things today, probably it should be green, right? So why would I say that, right? Should be green because, you know, well, you know the history, right? The Green Party of the USA had more or less no one interested in it in the 80s. Then in 1992, the Berlin Wall fell. By 1995, there was no longer any CPUSA, Communist Party of the United States of America. More or less because all of those ideas more or less lost their big funder, which was the Soviet Union. And also the big excuse. This is an alternative idea. We can use it as an example, proof of concept. Problem is, of course, that proof of concept died after 75 years. It broke because of its own weight. And actually, there was a guy who said the same thing was going to happen to the United States, and this is possible, unlikely. There'd be a sort of balkanization, the sort of thing that happened with the Soviet Union. He did it based more or less on political party and what each state at the time was doing. I forgot his name because nobody gives a shit. He just sort of disappeared. But still, you know, he had this idea that the United States was going to completely destroy itself, and therefore, you know, we didn't have to. We should just be worried about that. That, you know, the oh, I forgot the guidelines. You want to do some things. So you want these guidelines. So things like the fist, it's okay to have coming out, but it looks like I don't want the fist to go all the way up anymore. So my original idea was this, and the fist is going way up high, but I've sort of changed it a little bit like this, and that's mostly because it's not going to go quite as high, mostly because it doesn't, if you look at this, it doesn't really show us that the girl's hitting the guy, right? Whereas here, it really does look like the girl's just hit the guy. So that actually is okay. It gives us more room for the faces, I guess, and less room for arms, and arms are kind of boring, right? So we'll have to hit them. The only thing that I see there is the angry lady. Looks kind of angry, or the angry lady looks a little bit black, and that's because of the coating. When I'm looking at this, the thing that I'm looking at that looks like an upper lip, which would make her look black, is actually supposed to be some teeth. And I think if I coated that a little bit better, right, it stops looking quite as black. There we go, not so black. A little bit with the flared nostrils. Now I do have, my original idea was to take a couple of people that I would generally count as woke, the people that I think of when I think of as woke, which would be actually two guys who have a podcast that I don't really need to mention. Right? Good friends, stuff like that. But decided that just sort of meant there weren't enough chicks. So let's see. I'm going to have this one guy who's a guitarist and a singer-songwriter sort of person. And he's going to get bopped by the other person. So there's his upper teeth, and his lower teeth are over here because he's been bopped. And then he's got his hipster beard, which may be too big for the hipster beard. The hipster that I saw earlier, which is going to determine how, earlier today, which is going to determine how I draw this guy's hair, right, like Archie. Archie on the sides, and Jimbo on the back, right? Maybe Aunt May, I'm not sure, but still. So this makes him a lot different from the dude I was originally thinking of. But makes him much more woke looking. Hairstyles don't make you woke. What is the woke stuff anyway, right? I mean, really. Well, that's obviously a, like I said, I want to focus on the wobbly salute. Actually, I don't know if it's a wobbly salute, but I think it's an IWW socialism salute that has been appropriated for other uses these days, but that's okay because these dudes all love the wobbly salute. Okay, now we're going to do 1, 2, 3. That's her arm. And we need Bam to somehow signal that this dude has just been bopped in the head with a wobbly salute because he was too close to a chick at a protest. Okay, so let's put that over here. So I'm going to, let's see. Hands on the hips to give it the right sort of attitude. And then some more stuff there. So what's going on with that, with all that? Well, remember, the big idea about the woke stuff is that it's signaling, right? signaling the same way that your Princeton degree is signaling, right? You went to Princeton, that means you smart, right? And if you smart, then obviously people should listen to you. Okay, I should be looking at this stuff because somebody must have shown up. All right. I'm not sure how I got playbacks already. I haven't had any viewers. Oh well. So let's see. So the wokeness that we see, the sort of performative wokeness that we see, is mostly signaling. And I was actually watching a stream from the Santa Fe Institute all about signaling previously. Like I said, signaling is mostly a phenomenon where we do something to make other people think something about us. So like when I went to the coffee shop yesterday, there was a guy with a Princeton t-shirt. He wants me to know he went to Princeton, right? I mean, that's the only reason why you wear a Princeton t-shirt. Or at least he wants me to think that, because I think Princeton, like Harvard or someplace like that, often has a lot more people wearing the t-shirts than actually went there. In fact, I wear some college t-shirts for places I didn't technically go, although I taught there. So that was part of the idea for trying to connect with the students. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Depends on the campus. Okay. I don't know, is that face too small for this? Face is fine. Is supposed to be up a little bit, so that looks like that. So even the college degree is often thought of as a signaling thing. So the college degree itself is something that, for the most part, just says I can sit around and do pointless work for 4 years, even though I don't really see how it's going to do anything for me in the end, which is exactly what your employer wants to know. He doesn't care if you can see how important your job is. And your job is important, at least to one person, right? Your job is always going to be important to at least one person, and that's the person who's paying you money to do it, right? So if you have a job, remember, you're important to at least one person on earth. If you're creative and people buy your stuff, again, you're important to at least that number of people on earth. A few more people, but still. And you also have to look at some of the other things, like it's not supposed to look ethnic. Oh well. So we'll give her this sort of hairstyle. So from another white girl, so that it still looks ethnic. Okay. That's not what I want, but that's what I'm getting. She is angry. And then the first girl I started with was probably a purse. I'll make it a sash for a satchel over here. And maybe when I ink it, I'll put in a pattern or something. There's no reason to put in a pattern now. Let's see what it looks like at the end and then decide on a pattern. Right, okay, so this guy gets bopped in the head by her. Let's see, and really his. Okay, so it's coming over here. So now remember, the idea is for some reason they're trying to raise this salute, this wobbly salute together, right, at the same time. So what we're trying to get across is that when this guy gets hit by her, he accidentally hits himself in the head too. So he gets it twice. Right. So this is going to be a, like I said, I'm not sure if it's a green or red issue. I think it'll be green because, or green or blue, I guess it would have been, because I'm trying to code like American politics. American politics has weird coding. I didn't talk about that, so. That's how long his arm has to be. Yeah, so probably have to bring it up a little bit. The weirder the angle, unfortunately, for this, the funnier it's going to look. But we can give him a little bit of a forwardness to his arm. Some wrinkles there. I'm not sure how we're going to do this. Let's have him sort of have loose sleeves like this, and there's a little bit of a sleeves come out a little bit like sort of that. So we need okay, so the question is okay, we've given him those loose sleeves, or will we do, well, let's give him a, this guy would actually probably be wearing a tie if it was the original dude, but then we have, you know, we're sort of mixing him with the guy I saw at the coffee shop this morning, who was not wearing a Princeton stuff. That was the previous day. So anyway, signaling is something that's important for, you know, telling people who you are, right? For telling the people you want to know who you are. And bam, there we go. And one of the ways you can do that is hang out at the protest march and bop yourself in the head. Let's, does that look, how does that look? So this one's easy because it's right there, whereas this one, the I don't really need to do that until I ink it, but so let's see. Make sure she looks pissed. And he looks like he just got popped in the head. Okay. So for education, like, why do you go to school? You go to school to do a lot of pointless bullshit so that your boss knows you can do a lot of bullshit. And you go to better school so you can do harder and more and harder bullshit. There's actually some assortative stuff in there that's also important. That's partially important, at least in the United States, because, you know, we've outlawed, you know, things like intelligence tests and things like that for employers. So employers used to give intelligence tests and things which were better suited to figuring out who would make a good office worker than going to school. But there was a problem. They ended up being discriminatory, so we got rid of those. So instead, we just have the sorts of things we have. Hello? Okay. Well, at least that looks good. Okay, so let's take a peek at what we're going to do here. So, do we want her to have a hat? So, okay, so like I said, we're probably going to go with this being green because green is, green. The original reds ended up going into the green party. So a lot of stuff, especially when you see them online, a lot of stuff people are doing, the wokey people are doing, is mostly just I gave her a little hat like this, partially because I knew a girl in college that always wore a hat like that. So, and I think she'd fit, although it was a little before the Woketariats showed up. Now, the signaling, some signaling's more costly, some's less costly, and so forth. Signaling on the internet is not very costly, so that means that these people don't really have to believe it very hard in what they're believing. They're talking about, but they can get some benefits from it. Similarly, they want to make sure that everybody knows that they are one of the right people. If other people are signaling, saying I'm the right person and being a jerk on the internet to people, then you have to be just as much of a jerk just to prove that you're not the sort of person they want to be a jerk to. Right? You're signaling, I'm part of your group. Let's go pick on somebody else. This isn't the only kind of signaling, right? Ever seen a NRA sticker on a pickup truck? That is another kind of signaling, right? Actually, I think it's the same kind of signaling. So I shouldn't say it's another kind of signaling. It's also signaling. Okay. All right. So you're telling people something about yourself, and the more costly it is, the more true it is, or the more effective it is. So a lot of times you'll see people who have been, hit, canceled, or whatever it is. You'll see they'll get even more radicalized than they were on some subject, especially if they were hit by who they perceive to be their own side. Now that's sort of the scariest thing, is that a lot of times the people who are going to cancel you are people on your own side, right? And if you get hit by them, you don't want to You don't want to, generally, most people don't want to go off to the other side, but, sometimes they do. All right. Still feel like this guy's hair's too high. That's all right. Well, it's not really all right, but it's okay. Because remember, these cards are for the burn edition of the game. So the burn edition of the game, that's why we're doing all these political cards. Basically just be a downloadable game. Download them for free. Have to print them out yourself, but then, it's easy enough to oh, that doesn't look good. Crap. Went too far down. Silly. I want to have some of that beard go over arm like that. Okay, and cartoon ears. And the surprised looking glasses. All right. Teeth have to be off a little bit. Some little things for that guy. Probably wait till let's give him those Archie sides that I wanted to give him. That's the thing I loved about the dude. Is he had basically Archie looking sides on the side of his head. And that's woke. Archie is the wokest. He may be. I mean, there's that Riverdale thing. I've never watched it, but you can see updating Archie is a woke dude. Best goes too far, it's okay. Okay. Oops. What did I do? I said I wanted to emphasize the Woketariat. Okay, and from here, see that little X. It's not looking good. Screwed it up. Oh, well. And once again, that much. There we go. Let's give her a little more hair here. Now she has more hair than the girl I knew in college. All right. Signal name theory is actually pretty interesting. I just hit myself in the head over here. Oh, this isn't me. I don't have a cool samurai top knot. I did just buy let's paint out that extra line. So this is ink. Oh, I should have erased first. Oh, well. Okay. Let's see if we can erase her. It's a while ago. Maybe some of this beard. Because we need to use that ink again. I didn't leave a line. Let's see. This. Just remember, this game is supposed to be a little like Illuminati and a little like Ascension. Maybe I should actually play Dominion. I never played Dominion. I do love Ascension. Ah, crap. That's exactly what I didn't want to do. Ah, crap. Oh, now this is in trouble. All right. Let's take out the thing I took out before, although now I need a lot more of this ink for it. Some of these may just be, I didn't wait long enough for the ink to dry. Sharpies dry pretty quick, but not instantaneously. I can already tell that some of these things that I'm inking over are just smudges of pencil. Oh, nope, I'm wrong. They're not smudges of pencil. Oh well. That's what I get for having no patience. Drawing's a game of patience. Art is a game of patience. All right. There we go. We will survive. We will survive. All right, first, let's give something that looks like an interior to that. All right. Okay, that does not code very well. That does not look like foreshortening, unfortunately. It's supposed to be foreshortened, but it doesn't look like it. Why not? Oh. If I add more of these things, maybe. Okay. So probably I should turn this into a plaid shirt, but I'm not sure if I want to do that. Do have to hit a few of these things over, make them darker. Things make that look like glass. Maybe a little bit of definition here. I haven't been using a lot of definition on these guys. So Ascension is one. So it's like a deck building game, a little bit like Illuminati in that you're trying to control the world. It's a little more like an election thing, because what I want to do with on the game side mostly. Right, Illuminati is mostly the idea for how the cards work and stuff like that. So on the game side, it is going to have you heard of Viking Funeral? I probably mentioned this before. Look up Viking Funeral. So if you have an old deck of cards, there's this guy who made a game for an old deck of cards that you wanted to retire. So rather than just throwing them in the trash, what you do is you just play the game with the cards, right? Viking Funeral, and as you go along, you're drinking beer with your friends, you're playing this game of cards, and you're burning some and cutting some and throwing them in the trash. So you're supposed to have a nice fire-safe trash barrel or something to work with. So what we're doing, so I want to put those three things together, basically. I guess the other thing to look at is like a legacy game, like Risk Legacy or Pandemic Legacy. Right, in those games, as you play, you change the cards, right? Or you change not just the cards, you change the state of the game. In this, what we do is you change the cards, right? So cards would get oops, there goes another pen. As you play the game, the state of the cards will change, and you'll slowly change the deck. Right, so let's say I had, which I won't. So my original idea for a game like this was for last time. So it would have had a Donald Trump card in it. But if you have a Donald Trump card in it and maybe you played it too many times, the other guy, either you, by playing it too many times, or the other guy would destroy the card. So, if you wanted to destroy the Donald Trump card, which I was assuming people would, that's one of those things where I wanted to see if people would. I wanted to make that sort of like the best card on the deck and see how many people would just destroy it because it was Donald Trump. So let's take a peek. What does this look like? Oh, it's not great. Actually, looking at it on the screen, it looks like it could look pretty good with the if it was painted up, but in black and white, it looks like crap. It sort of looks like a bad attempt to do a 1950s Jack Kirby, which is probably what all my art looks like. Actually, when I put this up on Instagram, I have a really great dragon that unfortunately it's on this ruled paper, right? So I can't do anything with it, but man, it looks awesome. Man, that guy looks great. So I'll probably put that up on the Instagram with it. I have a lot of insane things on the other side. That's supposed to be for math, that notebook. So anyways, yeah, so that's basically the game. The Woketavists, I want them around because they could interact with that previous card, card 7, the sewer level rise or something like that. So you could, if you had, if you play the Woketavists and you have the sewer level rise out, maybe you get an extra point for your elector. So this would be a green elector. That's a green issue, and so you get maybe an extra point for, trying to elect a green candidate or to acquire a green candidate from the center row. Because again, this is going to be like Ascension or Dominion, where you're going to have several cards up in the center row. You'll be able to acquire some of them. Some of them you'll play and they'll stay in play. Some of them you'll play and they won't. Some of them count, and they can't just count for the winning conditions. So you need a bunch of issues for that. You need a bunch of candidates, and you need a bunch of electors. The electors are what's going to give you the things. So I think, so you'd have electors to get you candidates, and the other cards would allow you to acquire electors. I think that's the way to do it. Something like that. We'll have to see how it actually turns out. So, like I said, like I may have said previously, the first idea for this game was to be a little more adversarial, where you'd have like a red deck and a blue deck. But I never got done with that game, thanks to the coronavirus. And so probably the best thing to do in the future is to but actually, no. Then when I came back to it, I thought, this is more fun if next time you play the game, you can get the degraded card. So you just degraded that card this time, but next time you play, maybe you would end up having that card as something that you have to take. Well, maybe not have to take, but something you take and stuff like that. And not necessarily, so the cards might degrade, but they also might increase in power. So like, let's say I made the Woketariat angry. Maybe each time I made the Woketariat angry, then the Woketariat would get more powerful, right? So maybe originally it gives you 1 point, but if you give it one angry sticker, you get 2 points, and if you get three angry stickers, two angry stickers, you get 3 points, and four angry stickers or three angry stickers. Three angry stickers always destroys the card, right? So they burn out, they've overstayed their welcome, whatever it is for your electors. So these are the oh man, that does look really good, because that right hand side looks like we are so powerful, and the left hand side looks like I'm such a dork. That is just so awesome. Man, I like this card. I like this drawing so much that I am going to really hate it in about 3 months. That is how much I like this card. Okay. Anyways, thank you very much for listening. I had a great time. I hope that we can all hang out and do this again next week after I figure out what the hell to do. Maybe some other green electors. I mean, hey, in the comments, if you watch this, tell me, what do you think are some progressive? Think of green as progressive, blue as, let's say, leftist or liberal or something like that, yellow as libertarian, and red as conservative. Tell me what you think are some green. What are the kinds of people who vote green? What kinds of people are progressives? What kinds of people should we run up a little bit, right? That sort of thing. I think I got done with all but one of the cards that I need for the making fun of the libertarians, and then we have to make fun of, your standard Democrats and your standard Republicans pretty soon too, because they're the ones I really want to make fun of, right? Okay. Talk to you later. Bye now.